Oh, the music is still going. That's cool. I got that going. Good start to the day. Almost like I haven't been doing this a bunch of times. Welcome to SHL Tonight this afternoon. I'm your host, Ace. Alongside me, my wonderful co-host, Nike. How are you doing today, Nike?
What's up? Happy Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to our American and Canadian friends.
Yes, absolutely. So on this holiday Monday, we are bringing you a afternoon stream. Shout out to our friends over in Europe who can usually not attend. So hopefully you're able to attend live, and we'll see you in the chat. Yeah, we've got some fun stuff to talk about. We've got, the update of the standings. The season is underway. We've got our power rankings for this week. We have a couple other things around the league to kind of talk about. Hi, Slicer's in the chat. Awesome. So as always, if you guys have anything else that you guys want us to chat about, don't hesitate to jump into the chat on YouTube or Twitch, and we'd be happy to kind of address specific things. Rich is here as well. Hello, Rich. Excellent. All right. How have you been, dude? What have you been up to lately?
Long weekend, just kind of hanging, honestly. I mean, we had about as nice of a weekend as we could hope for.
It's been super nice.
I did kind of what you did yesterday. Spent some time outside with the dog. Got a little, couple trips around the block. Otherwise, been kind of hanging. We went over and walked around Winthrop. Got some time outside. It's been good.
Nice. Yeah, on Saturday we ended up going. Well, there was a hockey store near us that had their back to hockey sale where they had 10% off literally everything and 25% off yellow tag items. So I ended up finding myself a new pair of goalie pants there, 25% off. So it was originally a $240 goalie pants that I got for $170, which is pretty sick. Got Amelia a few new things for the season. And then while we were on our way there, because that was in Concord, New Hampshire, we ended up going hiking beforehand. And I found out that I can't trust what some of the reports on the All Trails app says, because it said it was a moderate hike. And I'm like, moderate. We're not morbidly obese, or at least not that morbidly obese, right? So we should be able to handle it. Not too bad. So we ended up going on this, and I went in the wrong direction. We went counterclockwise instead of clockwise. And the incline on the counterclockwise route, oh my God, dude. I thought I was going to die, but we got through it. It was only a 3-mile hike, but it was about 500 of elevation in
Is that the backwards route was 500 feet in elevation?
Yeah, in a quarter mile instead of a gradual incline when you go up the normal way. So yeah, I basically was dead that entire Saturday. But yeah, it's been a fun weekend. Good to get out of the house. I mean, I'm not a big summer guy myself. I don't really love the heat. I mean, we just did a walk today with our dog. We did a 2-mile walk. You can really still see the sweat. We literally just started the walk, and Nike messages me. He's like, "Hey, are we good?" I'm like, "Shit, I told you we were going live at 1, and we just started our walk." So give me a few. But the weather's been pretty nice right now. I mean, it's been pretty consistently in the 70s here in New Hampshire.
It just finally turned. I'm very much the same. The heat this summer has been oppressive, so it has been nice to have a weekend that has not been either raining or 95 degrees. And we had fireworks here in Boston on Thursday, so it's actually just been quite the string of 4 days. It's been a lot of fun.
Why did you guys have fireworks?
They just did Labor Day fireworks Thursday evening for whatever reason. and it was almost as big as the 4th of July fireworks, which
That's
is
crazy.
pretty funny.
That's so funny. Yeah, so things are good. I don't know if you guys noticed, but it's September 1st, and that means hockey is officially here this year in real life too. So preseason begins, I think, in like 20 days in the NHL. So that's also very, very exciting. Anyways, we're not an NHL podcast, we are an SHL podcast. So wanted to kind of jump in. I figured what better way to start than taking a quick gander at the standings. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
I
go
think
ahead.
maybe before we even go there, huge thank you to the file working team and the sim team and everybody that jumped in on the schedule last weekend, because it was chaos. And we had a few GMs who noticed, as I assume as they were looking at like their goalie starts and the like, that the schedule initially out of FHM had some really wonky matchups, and there were a lot of teams that were playing each other at a frequency that was probably too high. And so I know Patrick and Corey and a bunch of other people. I will miss
Golden
somebody if I try
Glutes
to.
was
Yeah,
heavily involved in that as
Glutes.
well.
Yeah,
So
I mean, if I try to name everybody, I certainly will miss somebody. But so more than anything, thank you to everybody that spent a great part of their weekend last weekend getting us on track. And basically, by the time that yesterday rolled around, or today's Monday, so by the time Saturday rolled around, we're right back on track where we're supposed to be. So we really only lost a day. So kudos to that team and a big thank you.
yeah, that's really, really good point. Yeah, shout out to you guys for going above and beyond to make sure that we can all get the experience that we all really, really love. And nobody's getting paid for this, so we really do appreciate your effort and time. So yeah, it's a good point, Nike. Sometimes I forget that we're an officially HO sanctioned podcast, and we need to give everybody their kudos when they deserve it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to jump into the
For
standings.
all the lumps that HO has taken in the last like 2 or 3 weeks, I think it's nice to give them their kudos when they earn it.
Yeah, whatever, I guess. um, so right off the hop, let's just kind of talk about some of the big dogs. And this is going to be different from power rankings. This is just standings, guys. So to the surprise of no one, Edmonton is off to just an absolutely torrid pace with a record of 15-2-0, 30 points on the season. Not to be outdone, Seattle with one more game played, also at the 30-point mark. Just one regulation loss differentiating the two of them.
And
Do you
if you
think
look at
anybody in the East could compete with the West right now? Those two
if
top
you look
dogs?
at those two teams, the most impressive thing I think about that start is the amount of games that they played away from home. I think we've all come to realize that FHM Thames certainly leans more into home games, and those teams both have 12 and 13 away games respectively, and still only have 2 or 3 losses. So, um, short answer to your question, yes, there are definitely teams in the East that can keep up. I think you look at the start that Manhattan has had. Tampa's obviously been great, and then Atlanta is no joke either. So yes, but out of the gate, it's pretty impressive what Edmonton and Seattle have strung together.
Yeah, and I also have to give New England a lot of
Yeah, of
props
course.
here too. I mean, their goal differential's better than Seattle's, right? And I mean, they're only beaten by Edmonton, so it definitely looks like there's going to be another season of, I don't want to say a lack of parity, but their top dogs are your top dogs, and they're feasting pretty well so far this year.
Yeah, pretty top
Um,
heavy. I think we've seen that the last 2 years, and I don't think it's going to change.
yeah, yeah, and the other thing that was kind of interesting to me is that we're seeing Denver really perform better than the other expansion teams. All the other three expansion teams have kind of filtered down as they continue to develop, but Denver's still doing some pretty good work there, sitting at 8th overall in the league.
I think that they have just a little bit more age on their roster, just generally. I mean, and they did happen to have, with Kari joining, obviously a little bit more of that top end. I know you guys had Leahy for a bit last year, and talk about a shout out. Leahy is, I think, in the top 3 in goals or points when I last look at. So there's definitely some talent there on the Denver roster. It will be interesting to watch like the next 5 seasons or so how that roster matures in comparison to Nashville, Cincinnati, and Madison. But I'm not surprised, right? We saw them come out pretty hot last year. They were good for the first 2/3 of the season. I would suspect that Rash is kind of running back that same clip this year, trying to get a good start to the schedule and then see where they land come playoff time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the different strategies that the other GMs are taking, and how that kind of develops over time. To nobody's surprise, we're seeing a lot of Solberg there for the individual leaders. Goals, they've got a 3-goal edge, plus minus. Froya, Solberg leading the way. They're on the ice for a lot of the time when the Edmonton Blizzard are scoring and the other team are not. I think you mentioned Leahy, not only just scoring well, he's leading the way in physicality too, which is pretty cool. So he's doing some heavy lifting for the Barracuda.
Who have actually been, I think, better than we were expecting
Yeah,
when we talked last week. Like, I think we were thinking, they might fall off a little bit, but they've been really good out of the gate.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they've been very strong, and that's not easy to do when you're a new GM coming in and taking over a team. So yeah, shout out to Spooked and his staff over there for having a great start to the season. On the goaltending side of things, goals against average, the immortal man, just in time. He may not be getting as many starts, but he's still, getting the value out of the time he is out there. So good for him. He's also up there in save percentage as well, to no one's surprise whatsoever. I think he's got one of those like secret attributes that get put on players in FHM.
Yeah,
He
you just get
managed to hold on to
the
that.
right player ID. All of a sudden,
Exactly.
you're a mythical creature for 15 seasons.
Absolutely. So yeah, that will go ahead and kind of summarize our quick little recap on the standings and the current statistical leaders. Let me fix this here. Chat's quiet, so no topic ideas from chat today. But any concluding thoughts on what we just kind of talked about from your end, Nike?
No, I mean, I think it's been a fun start. Not a lot of surprises, but just a couple sprinkled in, and I'm interested to see how the next like 2 weeks really shakes out the schedule, because I think we looked at the number. You look at the number of games played across the league and the imbalance of home and away schedules. Generally speaking, there's not a ton of balance across each team's roster. Like Chicago, for example, has played a ton of games at home with a few sprinkled away, and we talked about Edmonton and Seattle playing a ton on the road and coming home. So like as the schedule starts to balance out, I'm excited to see where teams start to fall, because I do think that the home and away difference is pretty sizable.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. The other thing I wanted to kind of mention, we haven't really talked about it much yet, is Farah has actually done a really good job innovating on the All-Star committee. And I'm going to just share again here. The Expo 83, where there's some really cool new concepts for teams, and the cards are just
electric.
Absolutely mint. Like, look at these things. Like, they are looking like Swedish elite hockey players with all these advertisements all over them.
These are, I actually had not seen these, so these are a ton of fun to see for the first time live.
Look at that journeyman from the South, Sonia Solberg, Team Canada.
Yeah, the McDonald's logo on the socks is incredible.
Oh yeah, shout out Raj. Raj was the designer for these cards.
The cards team has been doing a ton of incredible work, and I think we'll get to the charity drive, but there's probably going to be a lot of charity cards this season too, because it seems like that's super popular. So yeah, thanks to the cards team, because I know it's been the cards thread in our Chicago LR has been popping off the last couple of days.
You might not realize it, but this has been a soft send of a pilot for our new sim engine in this Expo 83. And here you have it.
I thought we were going back to block hockey, to be honest.
Block in Mojo's game. Oh yeah, so the coasts were just getting it done there. The open lands dramatically underperforming. The South, like, look at this. What did he even use for this? Did he say?
Look at the
League Simulator.eu.
Look at the size of the puck in reference to the player.
Oh my god! Yeah, they're using curling stones.
It's like
just fascinating. That's so funny. But yeah, I got a big kick out of this article, so I wanted to make sure that we had some time to chat about it, see what the
So this
fans
is
at home had to say.
this is the All-Star game rosters. Okay.
Yep,
It would be fun
exactly.
to do a bit of like I don't know if the NBA does who does the like custom draft of the players.
The NHL's done that a couple of times before they went to the, you know,
3-on-3 or whatever it is now.
yeah. I mean, they did like the draft, and like Phil Kessel was the last one picked. Do you remember that? That was
No, but
hilarious.
that sounds about right.
It was hilarious. Yeah. So, but I think the NBA does that too. I'm not a big basketball guy.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much don't pay attention to any All-Star game just because it's not real sports and they're good for highlights and just about nothing else. But it would be fun to do something of that nature in the SHL.
Yeah, Four Nations was a lot of fun. Instead of an all-star game, like doing that international tournament.
Yeah.
But now we're actually going to have best on best Olympic hockey again this year, which I am especially stoked for. Like, I still remember when I was like, when was the last time NHL players were in the cup or in the Olympics? I mean, that was like what, 2011, 12,
I was gonna say the 90s,
2010?
so I don't think.
Like, I'm thinking Sidney Crosby golden goal. When was that?
Oh, that's right. 08,
2010.
2010.
2010.
Okay.
Was it really 2014 for the last time?
I
I
mean,
gotta
that
look
would make
that up.
sense. That's the only one after 2010. Oh, okay. Yeah, the Marchand and Crosby golden goal. Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like in college,
NHL
I guess.
player. Yeah, they did get to go to Sochi in 2014. Yeah, Raph is right. Yeah, interesting. Who won that one? Was it Canada? I feel like it had to be Canada again in Sochi. Anyways,
Canada, Sweden, Finland, United
it
States. I mean,
it was fun. You know, I like the whole best on best. I know that like that made them kind of think twice about what they do for all-star events in general, but you
and
know,
it wasn't this season that there were a ton of injuries. Like I know McAvoy,
mm,
for example, right? Like didn't basically play again, and one of the Kachuk brothers was out for a little while after. But
yeah.
for the most part, like players were relatively healthy, and those were super competitive and physical games right to the end. It wasn't like an all-star break where they're relaxing. Like those top players were actually playing.
Yeah. All right, we'll bring it back in here. Let's talk a little bit about the charity drive, which is an awesome thing that we are participating in. This is a cross league charity drive, cross community charity drive. So I believe that this is in collaboration with like the PBE and the ISFL and all that type of stuff, which is pretty cool. So if you don't know, we are having a charity drive. We are raising money for a couple of charitable organizations. Specifically, this year we are partnering for Mothers Against Drunk Driving, aka MAD, and UNICEF. So there are locations that you can just, if you don't want to participate in the auctions that we have going on, there are ways to just donate directly and have your donations recognized as part of the community donation. And then there's also going to be the auctions here, and we have some really fun items for auctions. Nike, is there any items that you would particularly think that we should mention on today's show?
Um, I think that bidding to be a guest on SHL tonight is pretty fun, but you're going to have to outbid me. But there's also, I think there's like a whole handful of trading custom cards, the trading pack point or whatever they are. The like prompts are pretty funny. I saw Meet Cool was bidding on one of those. I assume that will mean that the tagline will probably be Meet Cool's going to win the cup or Meet Cool won the cup. Um, some custom signatures. I personally, if I was like in this just for the sake of uh, my own personal collection, I would be bidding on anybody who's willing to build something or customize, like build custom art. I think Kari, for example, has got a fridge magnet in here somewhere. She'll build a custom fridge magnet. I think things like that are fun, like just little trinkets that people in our community create that are kind of like art art inclined, I think those things are really fun. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like virtual things here if you're into the cards. There's a lot of like time on podcasts or things like that. Like there's
Good.
something for everybody. So if you're interested in otherwise would like to participate in making a donation to these great causes like that, I think this is exactly the kind of thing that is great for the league.
100% agree. And then there's also like Gibbles is doing a Dungeons and Dragons one shot, and I know that people have really enjoyed those D&D one shots historically as well. So that's a good one to kind of mention as well. The other little tchotchke, you know, artsy craftsy thing is Jess is also doing a food keychain crochet, small keychain of any food item of your choice. So that's kind of an interesting one as
Cheeseburger
well.
keychain sounds pretty good to me.
I bet you hot dog would like a hot dog one.
Yeah. It seems fair.
Um,
Yeah, and I think another time for Nike to do a shameless plug, or not shameless plug, but give kudos. Thanks to Shawnee for organizing all this. I think the whole league recognizes that it's a ton of work, and um, the events team taking this on has been awesome because it's been a couple of seasons since we last did this, and I think this is a great thing for the community, great for the organizations that were benefiting. So, um, thank you guys for organizing it, putting all the hard work into this.
Yeah, absolutely. And then our obvious friends over at SMJHL tonight, they're offering a 3-minute presentation on their podcast of any topic within reason. So that's a good one to kind of take a peek at as well. They're offering sponsorships. I don't really know what is included in a sponsorship, but that's kind of cool.
I think we should probably sponsor them.
Edge, we should. That's a
It
good
should be
point.
it should be SMJHL tonight, sponsored by SHL tonight.
There we go. I just bid. We'll be their sponsor. We'll see what happens.
Deal.
But yeah, definitely jump in here if you haven't. Um, if you want to support some good causes here and participate in a fun league event, throw some money around. Obviously, only if you have the ability to do so. So, but yeah, shout out to everybody involved with this. This is always a fun little event that we put on. So,
Yeah, I think you nailed it there, right? If you have funds and you're okay with making a donation for a great cause, it's a great time to do that. But this will probably not be the last time the league does this. So if you don't feel like you're in a financial position to do that at the moment, don't feel any pressure.
absolutely, absolutely. Any other thoughts on anything else you want to touch on before we jump into two power rankings, Nike?
I got nothing. Let's do it.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead. I don't have my graphic today, so we're just gonna kind of go top to bottom. I'm going to introduce the team. I'm going to throw it over to Nike for some analysis as to why our good friend Slicer has decided to rank these teams in the way that they are ranked. So once again, shout out Slicer. Appreciate you putting in the time and effort on putting together these power rankings for us. It is fantastic. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Number one for this week, the Edmonton Blizzard, to no surprise whatsoever. Congratulations, Edmonton. You are number one. Nike, why are they number one?
Dominant out of the gate, 2 losses. I think I don't know what 2 teams exactly. I think they lost 1 game to Buffalo, but highest points percentage I think in the league, or at least right there next to New England. The roster speaks for itself. I think between them and New England, you would have a hard time figuring out. Probably looking at the schedule on like Friday, who would have probably been the number one here. But I think it's no surprise to see Edmonton stays at number one.
Yeah, no surprise to me. Number two, this one is something that's maybe subject to a little bit of interpretation, if you will. But they are the New England Wolfpack coming in at number two. Nike,
Yeah,
why are they there?
yeah. So looking at the notes here, it is because New England has the highest points percentage in the entire SHL. They've been really good scoring goals. I think if you look at the goal differential, um, they're obviously in that top tier of teams. It's absolutely no surprise uh, that the New England GM crew continues to extract every bit of success out of this really, really strong roster. So I think they're they're leading the league in the East, and only having that one loss is a pretty incredible run. I think they had quite a few home games out of the gate, but still, like this, they're up 3 ranks in the top 10 here, and I expect that they will probably be a favorite as we start to think about playoff time, even though we're a little bit early here for that conversation.
Yes, yes. Well, it's kind of interesting too, and that's a good point by Troy McClure in the chat. Not me disappearing and returning, but the fact that New England has had such a home heavy schedule, despite Edmonton and Seattle being road warriors. Can New England keep up that momentum without that last change at home? So it'll be kind of fascinating to see. Will New England be the biggest riser with a +3 this week, or will another team be on the rise just as noticeably? Let's find out. Number 3, we have the Seattle Argonauts. What about the Argos has them at 3, Nike?
It's pretty much all the same things that we're talking about with Edmonton. I think they've been great on the road. Goal differential has been really strong. They've done a great job just managing their schedule. The 2-3 losses total, I think it is at the moment. So they've just been dominant out of the gate, and it's likely that they're only going to get better as the season goes on, as that home schedule starts to uh, pull itself in. So I would not expect Seattle to be probably anywhere outside this top 3 teams as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, just another really, really dominant team. And I think that the way that Seattle does things that really impresses me is the defensive game that they play. They're not going to be as high flying as Edmonton or even New England on the goal scoring, but they are really, really good at locking it down. I mean, I guess they are third for goals for, but I don't ever think of that as really part of their game. But yeah, good on Seattle for locking down number 3. And number 4, we have our second Eastern Conference team rising to the occasion. The Tampa Bay Barracuda emerge from the waves at number 4.
Up 6 spots. So this is going to be our biggest riser for the week. I think, as we talked about, as we kind of took a quick peek at the schedule, the standings, and the overall player performance, at like a really great start to be up near the top of the East for those guys. They're fourth, I think, in scoring in the league, which is pretty great considering the roster is aging out a bit. And they're really doing a good job keeping the puck out of the net as well. So I'm surprised to see them here, but I'm not surprised with the performance that they've had out of the gate. Has gotten Slicer's nod to get them up here in the top 4 teams for the power rankings for week 1.
Yeah, I mean, we already kind of alluded to it a little bit when we were talking about the standings. Like, not a team that we necessarily expected to see this high in the standings. And obviously, with that much of I would even call it a meteoric rise out of the Tampa Bay Barracuda. Obviously, we're giving you your roses here on the SHL tonight. So, congratulations, Tampa Bay. Can you keep it up when you hit the road as much? We'll have to find out. Oh yeah, Manhattan's spelled wrong. I guess Slicer. It's AN at the end. Manhattan.
I guess
By the way,
where
they're
we're
number
going
5.
next.
They're number 5, baby.
Probably the best start to the season in a long time. I think they started 10-0, which was pretty incredible. And like, again, one of those teams that's had a home friendly schedule, but I looked at the standings on like Wednesday or Thursday. I was like, holy smokes, Manhattan has still not lost a game. So really great. I think it's not surprising because this roster has kind of been trending in the upward direction over the course of the last couple of seasons. And Koa did a great job kind of putting together the construction of the team as it is now. I'm glad to see that Sky's finding success right out of the gate. Another team that's got a new GM that's finding success here in the beginning of the season. So I think 5 is kind of a perfect spot for Manhattan. Not a lot of pressure, but they're still playing incredible hockey.
Yeah, 100% agree. And once again, like you had mentioned, like it's impressive to have these teams that have a turnover at the front of the office for them to continue and improve in some aspects their performance from the previous season. So yeah, great to see here for Manhattan coming in at number 5. Number 6, we have our 4th Eastern Conference team. And who other than our defending Challenge Cup champions, Atlanta Inferno. What do we got on Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, I think the knock on Atlanta out of the gate has been that they've had a little bit of trouble keeping the puck out of the net, which is usually for them not a problem because Atlanta has a high flying offense that normally scores a ton. They're still right there around, the top in the East, and I don't think anybody would question. It's actually just feels a little bit surprising to see them this far down in the rankings, just considering the performance that they've had over the last couple of seasons coming off the cup. But um, I imagine that again, like as the schedule starts to shake out a little bit, we'll probably see them play a little bit better on defense and see the offense kind of continue to pick up. So um, I think they're right where they should be just based on the start that they've had, but I would not be surprised to find them back in that 4 or 5 conversation over the next week or two.
Yeah, I mean, they will probably rise from the ashes, just like their logo. That old phoenix that they have there as their mascot. So,
Yeah.
number 7. Well, this team's really been on a stinker lately, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Chicago Syndicate.
tough start for us just by our standards and expectations. I think um, this is a bit more akin to the start that I would have expected for Chicago to have last year versus this season. Um, but also like just when you look at the conversation that we had earlier about the top heavy nature of the league, I think most of the losses have been to that upper echelon. I think it's a loss to New England, a loss to Edmonton. So you know, I think in terms of overall performance, Chicago's kind of right. I think they belong here at 7. Just like hasn't had a great start, but I think it's anybody in the league would probably look at the Chicago roster and think that like it's got a shake there with um, maybe just that tier below Seattle and in Edmonton in the West.
Yeah, I mean, it's also going to be an interesting situation because I mean, how many home games have you played compared to away?
We have I think we've got like 6 away so far. So we've actually probably had one of the more balanced schedules coming out of the gate, but our schedule was a little bit more front loaded. Like on the first day of Sims, we had 7 games or something like that. So I actually think that we're going to find more days rest in between.
Hi,
Hey,
Chris. How
Chris.
are you? Thanks for joining today. Glad to have you. That makes sense. All right. All right. Let's jump over to number 8. We have the Philadelphia Forge at number 8. They fall from 7 to 8 this week. Why?
I think just in terms of like getting out of the gate, they've been a little bit up and down. The overall performance seems okay, but also like this schedule has not been really consistent for them. It doesn't feel like they've been streaking in wins or losses in either direction. But similar to last season, I think they're struggling against some of the more elite teams, but are certainly managing in the East to kind of dust off the teams towards the bottom. So if they can pick up the goal scoring and continue to progress, like I think they've got a shot. But it's another one of those teams in that like second tier in the East, and so not surprised that they're kind of helping us round out the top 10 here.
Absolutely. Our first expansion team on the power rankings. Number 9, the Denver Glacier Guardians, who rise 2 positions.
Yeah, we talked about them a little bit in the intro. Just pretty solid start. I think they're right there in that like 10-5 ballpark. I can't remember the exact, but they 20 to 25 points, a good start for the first quarter or so of the
You nailed it.
season.
10, 5, and 1.
Yeah. So like I mean I think like I said the roster is good but not perfect. They're certainly struggling a little bit, kind of in the same way of Philly. Like a couple of rattling off a couple of wins, ending up with a loss. It's just again it's so hard with the parity level of the league right now to be one of those teams that's like not in that top tier. And I think Denver's just like that next cut down as well. So um, perfect fit at 9. I think they missed in our preseason top 10, and I think that they're on their way up again as we look at the first like third or 2/3 of the season.
Yeah. Yeah. And Troy makes a great point. They should have been the Denver Vegas Golden Knights to add like an extra word in the name of their team. Number 10, we have a new entry. The Baltimore Platoon make their debut this season in our power rankings at number 10. Tell us about the platoon.
So I do love that Slicer is mixing in a dark horse towards the bottom towards the bottom of our top 10 every week. I think we had Hamilton last week, and Alex was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, stop that!" And I think uh, I think the platoon would probably be saying like, "Yeah, yeah, we're not quite there yet." As I look at the list, I think this is the only team in our top 10 that has a negative goal differential, if I'm not mistaken. But they're right there, basically close to even. I want to say it was like -2 or -3 the last time I looked. Pretty good start to the season though. Like in a three-way tie for eighth. It's a team that will likely make the playoffs and probably didn't expect that. And so I- I think it's a fun story. There's a lot of rosters out there that are kind of like stuck in this middling ground. And you look at BAP and they've had the last couple of seasons, I think, have been relatively challenging, and they are sort of in that rebuilding mode, but didn't have a lot of their own picks. So, I look at another set of new GMs that are doing their best to kind of like really push and get creative, and it's exciting to see them here round out the top 10 this week.
Absolutely. I mean, 3 brand new GMs this season are in the top 10 for our power ranking. So kudos to you and your coaching staff and your team, man. It's easy enough when you are on a team that has a change at the front of the office to say, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. Maybe
Yeah.
I want to go find something else with my buddies that I know elsewhere. This perfect opportunity to request a trade is when, and this is not advice for the record. It just happens from my time in this community. Don't you put that evil on me. But that is the logical time, right? Like
Yep.
okay, well, I don't want to do this. Everybody has been patient. They have seen big improvements from their team. And kudos to you for all seeing this. Shut up, Troy. Be quiet. Get out of my chat.
But they
Um,
did they did, right? Like
yeah,
they sold off a couple of pieces at the deadline last season to Tampa, and like one off season later, right? They're right in the hunt, and I think that that's a great story for a set of new GMs who have just like spent some time working in FHM, building up their LR. So like great story.
absolutely. And then we also have to give our roses to the team that just missed the top 10. And that is a team that was not mentioned last week. That is the Montreal Patriots. Why is Montreal at least getting some recognition, but still just falling short, Nike?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the story from last week, right? It is a roster of players who have the talent to make something happen that has just not, for whatever reason, had it click quite in the way that I think the teams were looking for it. So uh, Montreal probably again like could sneak into those next three slots from there, um, up from there, but they just like for whatever reason this Montreal team seems to have a ton of great pieces that just can't find the like perfect mix to click. I think they're like a top five TPE team that is just not played like a top five TPE team for the last 2 or 3 seasons. And I don't think it's because CK and team are not trying. It's just like for whatever reason, like the chemistry is just not right, or whatever, what have you. Like it's just um, yeah, it's a good roster, but they're not quite there yet. I don't know what it is.
I did not say that. I did not. For legal purposes, I did not say that. Um, it's got to be a coaching issue at this point for Montreal, Chris says. Um, I mean, perhaps. I mean, it's not like they've gotten over the hump. They've been a really competitive team, a contending team for multiple seasons, and they just couldn't quite get it done. And maybe that is a thing.
I mean, they Montreal, when you look at it, right, probably lost one of the bigger hauls in the expansion draft. So if you were to put Seven's player back on that team, I can't recall who else they lost. But if you took the expansion draft and wound it back, they're probably in the like top 2 or 3 teams in terms of like roster construction. If we were to just put them here today.
This is an interesting point by Slicer. It could be a bit of a chemistry issue. They lost a few key players and had to bring in new ones. I had that thought too, but I'm also like, I'm somewhat wondering if the whole chemistry thing is overblown a little bit because I had that same concern about Edmonton when they went out and they brought in Webb and Justin Time and those other players. Who was the other guy that they brought in? Their current co-GM. What was this player again?
Winters.
Yeah, Winters, Webb, and Time. Brought them in, and I'm like, well, I mean, they're all great players. I mean, they're obviously very good, but that's going to disrupt all the chemistry.
I
And what
think
does
it,
it do?
I think if you look at it though, right, what Edmonton did that is different maybe than the teams who are adding in UFA or making trades one-off players is Edmonton's grabbing pairs that already have built-in
That already
chemistry,
have
so
the
you can
built-in
like
chemistry.
tack
Yeah,
a
it's true.
third player on. So like look at the Solberg sisters, right? They had the built-in chemistry that they've already
Hmm.
built in Calgary.
Yeah,
Similarly, I think Winters and Webb had played on a line in SFP for a number of seasons. So you
it's a good
start to
point.
like tack those. It's actually kind of like as a GM been a little bit of a lesson learned. Like if you have an opportunity to get two players who have played on a line for longer, it probably ups their value to you as a GM versus just getting one piece. And sometimes it's going to cost more. And I think GMs on the other side of those trades have probably learned a bit of like, actually, if you
Yeah,
want both, it's going to
it's
cost you
true.
more than like the individual pieces in, you know,
I mean,
in isolation.
that's kind of taking inspiration from the way that some of the NHL teams do roster construction too. Because I mean, even like real hockey, you want to try to develop pairs that have
Yeah.
that chemistry. And that allows you to have kind of like that utility belt third player that you can adjust that line on a situation by situation basis. Like, oh, we're playing against a heavier team. I can put, one of my power forwards here. Or
Right.
this is a finesse team. I can put, a dangler on this line, that type of thing. So yeah, it's a great point. That is a good differentiation because it's different than acquiring a free agent or just acquiring one player. They're coming over with that built-in chemistry that can still carry over. So that is interesting. I think we talked about this before too. What I would really love to see would be the files for the J and the SHL combined. So
Mm,
players that played together in juniors could carry that chemistry over into
yeah.
the SHL file. Like that would be amazing if we could ever
That,
get to that point.
that's a really interesting take that I hadn't considered, especially because I think if you looked also at the way that a lot of us draft as GMs, like we have some relationships in the J of other GMs that we trust and like lean on for scouting. You know, I traditionally spent a lot of my time talking with the folks in NBB, Hume, Vancouver, Newfoundland, and like was always tending to draft players from those teams. And so I mean, if I look at my current roster, like I've got 3 or 4 people from Vancouver that are on my current roster that probably would already have had some of that chemistry. So yes, I think I would love that. I think that a lot of GMs kind of draft that way, but curiously, like, do you do the same thing, Ace? Like, do you focus, not that we don't draft from the
Sure,
entire
sure,
of the
sure. No, I
SMGS
mean there
now,
are
but
different organizations that have different cultural
yeah,
kind of things going on, right? And so you find the one that kind of meshes with what you're trying to build most, the one that you have the most affinity toward, and you just kind of organically you lean towards those ones. And I think it's mainly just an economy of information,
right.
right? Like if you have more regular access to understanding people's communication styles, their personalities, and that they already fit into a culture that's akin to your own, you're just going to naturally kind of lean in that direction. And, you see a lot of teams that have almost like a pipeline from the
Yeah,
J to the SHL. I mean, the first one that jumps out to me is like Anchorage to Philadelphia. Like
right.
that is like the most well-defined J to SHL pipeline that I think I could even see. Like historically speaking, there used to be when Seven was at the helm of Carolina, there was that Carolina to LA pipeline that
Yeah.
was always pretty strong as well. But those are the two that kind of jump out to me. Are there any other ones that kind of stick out to you?
I think St. Louis to New Orleans is probably one that I like. I think Joe's got some pretty strong relationships there with the St. Louis folks. Um, I'm sure that I'm sure that Denver will probably start to build some new ones.
Troy says Thunder Bay to New England,
Interesting.
which I don't know if is that based on anything? Am I just you making me say stupid shit, Troy? Like I'll say basically anything as long as it's not a slur that you put in the
Yeah.
chat. So just don't get me into trouble here, please. Like
Yeah,
5
five.
players.
Yeah,
Okay.
five
Yeah,
is a
that's
pretty good
cool.
number. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually was kind of surprised. I was looking at when I was putting together my send down list this year. I was like, wow, I have like one player from every team right now. Like I do not have a pipeline thing going on whatsoever. I've been basing my draft selections heavily upon just individual scouting. I mean, when you're in a heavy rebuild, you have to allocate more time towards scouting, right? You don't. You could be a little more selective when you are just looking for 1 or 2 players in the draft,
Yeah.
but when you're looking for 5 or 6 and you're really trying to pray that individuals fall and you want to have as many bullets in the chamber, you got to be much more meticulous and work harder at making sure you have everyone scouted.
I think
Um,
it's an interesting balance, right? Because having players who come from the same junior teams means they have a little bit of that like built-in rapport, and so they're more comfortable like starting to join the conversation in the locker room as they come in together. Like I think that we found that with a relatively established locker room, that having a number of players coming from the same J team, all kind of graduating in a 2 to 3 year season, 2 to 3 season structure, is really good because they're just like slowly integrating themselves and they
yeah,
already know some
yeah,
of the folks. It's not as scary versus when you're in that rebuild mode and you have folks coming from pockets. um, you build your own community around a
yeah.
team that's like starting to synthesize on its own. And so I really like the flexibility for both things, because the lovely thing about an established locker room where folks are coming in and they know just a couple of folks but they can like insert themselves, is they get to meet a bunch of people who are already there and kind of like fit into the culture of that team, versus on the other hand you get the experience of people who are like building their own culture, starting to bring their own personalities to build the franchise. And so that's a lot of fun. And I think that the more that we have that like variance, the more that folks are going to like get to meet people who they otherwise wouldn't and put their fingerprints on something that's starting to grow and build. And I think that's what's really fun about the SHL.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, that is one of the cool things. If you can potentially draft people that are really close together on the team already,
Yeah.
like if that just translates perfectly over. But the thing that you were just mentioning, like building something new, and that has always been a fun challenge too. I mean, that's exactly what all the expansion teams are going through right now. Like, I had a culture in Winnipeg that was fantastic. Like, great users, people that wanted to return with their next players, some people that did return with their next players. And then going from that to, okay, we're at ground zero. We have a new blueprint we have to create,
Yeah.
and trying to replicate so many of those things. It's been a, not without its challenges. So I definitely agree. Yes, Zelda, I think, heard something outside and she likes to bark because she's a German Shepherd. So
Maybe we could wrap up on that. One question for you: like 2 seasons in now, are you starting to feel like Nashville has its identity? Like, is your war room like really fully fledged out? Or are you still kind of like in that growing position still?
yeah, I mean, what's really exciting for me is that we've got one of the strongest prospect cores in the league right now. Some really, really good people, but it's been a process because, like I mentioned, we've drafted from so many different locations. These players are predominantly focused on their J stuff right now. So it's like trying to incentivize them to be active participants in the locker room here, while we're in a situation where it's not like we're winning a lot of games. Like,
Yeah.
I almost feel like we're all just kind of orbiting death or Rebecca Montaigne's cheerleader right now as they collect every win. Like, we're just going for legacy, kind of like what you see with Madison and Lime. And shout out to Lime, by the way. We didn't
Yes.
even touch on that. Lime breaks the scoring record, I believe. All-time historical scoring record in the SHL. That's legendary, dude. So congratulations to you. Kudos to you. Kudos to Madison for being such great teammates for a player at this stage of their career. So that's kind of where we're at right now too. We're trying to help Orbiting Death get to that point with their goaltender. It all kind of comes. Is it goals or points? I don't know.
It's points.
Anyways, points. I thought it was points.
Yeah.
But it kind of came full circle to me too, because Montaigne was my goaltender pick back when I was doing my big season 62 or whatever draft for Winnipeg. Like that core draft where we had like 9 first round picks. We ended up picking OD,
Yeah.
and now we were able to pick OD in the expansion draft. The only goaltender picked, fun fact, that's a trivia fact one day. The only goaltender picked in the expansion draft, Rebecca Montaigne. So that's what we're kind of doing, is we're just vibing around that. So Uncle Lime going for 1,000 assists too. So what, Chris? I don't have it in front of me. What is Lime at right now? Do you know? and we might wrap with that because tomorrow my daughter's going back to school, and my youngest is going back to school. My older daughter goes back on Wednesday, so we're getting ready to go to the ice cream place to kind of put a cap on summer. So I think my daughters are waiting for me to get off the
900,
microphone.
979 assists at the moment.
Yeah, so
21
21, 34. Troy, that number's way off. Come on.
I don't do public math, but that is the right math. 21 assists.
21,
which is
yeah.
ostensibly is doable this season.
Yeah, it could potentially, and like next season is a realistic target. I mean, and it's not like Madison is looking to contend yet, so it's plenty of time for Lime to just get those big minutes on a team that's trying to retool.
Only 3 more seasons to 2,000 games too, so like, why not at that point?
Why the hell not? Why? I mean, that probably is roughly in alignment where when they're going to want to start shuffling some people out. So,
all right, let's get off of this. Go get the ice cream.
Yeah, it's ice cream time. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. We had some great banter in the chat. We'll try to give you more advance notice on when we will be on, so you can maybe plan on joining us more proactively and less reactively. On behalf of the SHL broadcast team, we appreciate your viewership and your participation, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye, y'all. See you next week.